Let me tell y'all something real clear right off the bat. India ain't that quiet neighbor you can keep ignoring. No, sir, that's a sleeping lion that's wide awake now, stretching its muscles and showing the world that it's not playing games. You better understand one thing today. The terrifying power of India's military is no longer a mystery. It's a fact, and it's time the world got educated on it. People always looking west, always talking about superpowers from this country or that alliance. But let me ask you this, have you seen what India's cooking up lately? This ain't the same old India you read about in history books. This is a different beast now. This is a country that's been through wars, been underestimated, been kept in the background, and now it's got the firepower, the brains, and the backbone to stand toe-to-toe with anybody on this planet. We're talking about a country that built its own nuclear weapons program while the rest of the world tried to keep it down. Sanctions, isolation, restrictions, man, India said, watch me, and they built it from the ground up. They ain't borrowed nothing, they designed their own bombs, they launched their own satellites, they made their own missiles. That's a self-made powerhouse right there. You think it's just about tanks and fighter jets. Nah, it's about strategy. It's about having one of the most battle-hardened armies on Earth. Indian soldiers ain't new to combat. They've been in the Himalayas, fighting at heights where you can barely breathe. They've been in deserts, forests, rivers, and urban jungles, training like warriors. These ain't just troops. They're survivors. They don't just wear the uniform, they embody it. Discipline like steel. Spirit like fire, and let's talk numbers. Second largest military in the world by active personnel. That's over 1 million strong. You know how much force that is. That ain't no backup unit. That's a nation ready to rise. Add the reservists and you looking at a sea of determination. Men and women who are trained to lay it all on the line when the time comes. Let's take a step into the sky, because India ain't just holding the ground. They own the air too. The Indian Air Force is no joke. From Sukhoi to Tejas fighters, from Apache helicopters to Rafale jets, these bad boys are not flying just for show. They train for deep strike capability. They got precision. They got stealth, and they got the will to do what needs to be done. You mess with India's skies, and you best believe thunder is gonna rain down before you even know where it came from. And if you're still sitting there thinking that this is just about defending the borders, let me remind you India is already in space. That's right. While other nations still trying to fix their GPS, India sent satellites to Mars on a shoestring budget and got results. That's some next-level brilliance. When a country can aim that high with that kind of precision, just imagine what it can do when it focuses on defense. Now let's bring it back down to sea level, because India's Navy ain't just patrolling the coastline. It's a deep water force now. Aircraft carriers, nuclear submarines, stealth destroyers. They out there watching, waiting, ready. You come too close to Indian waters thinking it's free real estate, and you're gonna meet a machine that's built to neutralize threats before you can even call for help. And these submarines, they ain't making noise, they don't announce their arrival. You just find out too late. That's how powerful and calculated India's Navy has become. And while we talk about the power, don't forget the brain behind it all. You see, you can give someone the biggest gun in the world, but if they don't know when and how to use it, they're just holding metal. India's leadership, its defense strategists, military planners, technocrats. They ain't playing checkers, they're playing 5D chess. This country's military policy isn't about aggression, it's about preparation, deterrence, respect through readiness. Now, y'all know what makes this even more terrifying for anyone that dares to cross the line. India don't pick fights, it ends them. You don't see India rolling into places trying to bully smaller countries. No, India waits, it watches, it builds, it rises, but the moment you touch that red line, the moment you mess with its sovereignty, you unleash something fierce. That's what makes it so powerful, that restraint, that discipline, that silent storm waiting to erupt. And I don't want to hear nobody saying, but their budget isn't as big as other superpowers. Let me tell you something. India's military budget may not be the highest, but what they do with it. Man, that's called efficiency. That's called indigenous innovation. While others throw money around, India turns every dollar into dynamite. They don't just buy, they build. They create defense ecosystems. They empower local manufacturers. They blend tradition with technology. You see them BrahMos missiles, fastest supersonic cruise missiles in the world, developed with such precision that even the enemies admit, yeah, we don't want to mess with that, and that ain't where it ends. Agni series ballistic missiles. They can hit far and hit hard. Ain't no safe zone when those missiles are in the equation. And if we're talking cyber and electronic warfare, you better believe India's been paying attention. In this age, wars ain't just fought with bullets, they're fought with bytes. India's building digital warriors, investing in AI, robotics, cybersecurity, because future battles won't start with bombs, they'll start with a line of code. And India's ready for that too, but you know what truly gives India the terrifying edge? It ain't just hardware, it ain't just software, it's hardware, it's that soul, that pride, that never back down attitude. You go ask an Indian soldier what they're willing to do for their country. You go look into the eyes of someone posted in Sichuan Glacier, where it's 50 below zero, where avalanches and frostbite are daily battles, and tell me that's not terrifying power. That's devotion, that's resolve. It's terrifying because it's righteous. It's terrifying because it's not loud, it's calm, and that calmness is a storm in disguise. A nation that has faced colonization, partition, invasions, terrorism, and still stood tall. That's not a nation you bet against. That's a nation you respect, and let's talk about alliances, because India ain't walking alone anymore. It's building bridges with countries that matter, strategic ties with the US, defense pacts with France, Israel, Australia, Japan. India's not just rising, it's being recognized. It's taking its seat at the global table and making sure that its voice echoes. But here's the twist: India ain't out here boasting. India ain't got to flex muscles to get attention. The terrifying power lies in the quiet confidence, in the preparation, in the readiness, in knowing that when the world turns dark, India ain't gonna hide. It's gonna light a fire. This military isn't just a shield. It's a symbol. It's a legacy of valor passed down through centuries. From kings and warriors of old to the modern-day officers in uniform, India's defense forces carry a lineage of resistance and rebirth. Every time somebody thought India would fold, it rose higher, and it ain't just men anymore. Indian women are stepping into combat roles like they were born for it. Pilots, officers, commandos, breaking barriers and setting new ones. That's what I'm talking about: equality with excellence. When the whole population stands united behind its forces, that's a terrifying force multiplier. Now, if you think this speech is about making noise, you miss the message. This is about awareness, about understanding. The world needs to stop treating India like the underdog in the ring, because the underdog's gloves are off and it's ready to rumble. This military isn't just big, it's bold. It's brilliant, and most importantly, it's awake. This ain't the India of yesterday. This is the India that's rewriting its story. This is the India that's moving satellites, defending borders, firing missiles, securing cyberspace, dominating oceans, and all while carrying the soul of 1 billion people who refuse to kneel. So the next time someone asks you what's so terrifying about India's military, you tell them it ain't just the weapons, it's the will. It ain't just the size, it's the spirit. It ain't just the training, it's the truth. And that truth is India is powerful, India is prepared, and India, when provoked, is unstoppable. India's military is terrifying not because it seeks war, but because it's ready to finish one. That's the kind of power that makes the world stop and think. You see, real strength doesn't walk into the room shouting. It walks in quietly, calm, measured, in control. And that's exactly what India's military represents. It's not loud, it's not arrogant, and it sure as hell isn't reckless. It's focused, it's disciplined, it's precise, it knows what it's capable of. It doesn't need to start a fight to prove a point. It just makes sure it ends it with finality when the time comes. Because when you look at India's history, you realize something deeper. This is a civilization that's known thousands of years of philosophy, culture, science, spirituality. But every now and then, when it had no choice, it picked up the sword. And when it did, it wielded it with the strength of millions. The terrifying part about India's military isn't just its weapons or its size or its numbers. It's the centuries of collective memory that say, we will not be conquered again. That's the fuel behind the training. That's the purpose behind the preparation. India doesn't provoke. It prepares, and there's a big difference. The world is filled with nations that bark louder than they can bite. But India trains in silence. While others are marching in parades, India's soldiers are climbing mountains with 30 kg packs at 0 feet above sea level. While some countries flaunt their muscle, India's troops are sleeping in sub-zero bunkers in Siachen, staying sharp, staying alert, because peace isn't something they take for granted. It's something they're ready to fight for. Look at how India responds to threats, not with chaos but with clarity. Surgical strikes in response to cross-border terrorism weren't just military operations. They were statements that said, we see you, we warned you, now we act. And they acted with such accuracy, such speed, that the world didn't have time to react before the job was done. That's what being ready looks like. It's not about boasting. It's about delivering when the line is crossed. It's easy to fear someone who swings wildly, but what the world truly fears is the fighter who stays calm, stays balanced, and only moves when it's absolutely necessary. That's what makes India's military so fearsome. It doesn't swing unless the blow will land exactly where it's meant to, at exactly the right time, with exactly the force required. No more, no less, controlled power, strategic restraint, relentless execution. And that kind of power doesn't come overnight. It comes from years of training, sacrifice, and building from scratch. India didn't have handouts. It didn't inherit empires or military industries ready-made. It built its defense capabilities through grit and vision. Every missile it launches, every tank it rolls out, every satellite it deploys. That's homegrown excellence. It's proof that India isn't dependent. It's independent, and independence with capability, that's dangerous in the best way possible. India's defense doctrine isn't fueled by ego, it's powered by necessity. Surrounded by some of the most unstable neighborhoods on earth, India learned fast that peace is fragile. And if you want to protect peace, you don't do it with words alone. You do it with readiness. You do it with deterrence. You do it by making sure that the cost of conflict is so high, so absolute, that no adversary will dare test you twice. That's where India stands today. You know what else makes this terrifying? India isn't a one-dimensional force. It's a well-oiled machine that operates across land, sea, air, space, and now even cyber and information warfare. This is a country that has integrated traditional warfare with modern tech. This is a country that has fighter jets patrolling skies while satellites guide them in real time. This is a country where soldiers fight with courage on the front lines while artificial intelligence manages threats behind the scenes. It's not just muscle, it's mind. And when muscle and mind work together, that's when nations become unstoppable. Take a look at the Indian Army with over 4 million active personnel. It's a force that's not just massive, it's mobile. It's trained in multiple terrains. From the icy heights of Ladakh to the deserts of Rajasthan, from the jungles of the northeast to urban warfare in megacities, Indian soldiers adapt like water. They bend, they shift, but they don't break. That's terrifying to any enemy who thinks battles can be won with textbook strategies. You can't predict India's military because India prepares for unpredictability, and that preparation doesn't come from just generals and politicians. It comes from every level of society that respects the uniform, respects the sacrifice, and supports the mission. This isn't a military disconnected from its people, it is of the people. When Indian soldiers go to war, they carry not just weapons, but the hopes and hearts of 1 billion citizens. That's the kind of emotional power that turns warriors into legends. That's the spirit that tells the world, don't mistake our kindness for weakness. India's terrifying power is quiet because it doesn't have to scream to be heard. It doesn't have to be in the headlines every day. It just works. It builds, it trains, it analyzes, it evolves, and when that evolution is complete, it doesn't need to announce its arrival. The results speak for themselves. Whether it's defending the border or leading peacekeeping operations across the globe, India shows it can handle fire without becoming the flame. And the terrifying truth for any adversary is this: India is not isolated. It is networked. In this era of alliances and partnerships, India has built bridges across continents, military drills with the United States, naval exercises with Australia, strategic ties with France and Israel, collaborative tech with Japan. It's surrounded by allies who trust it, who respect it, and who know that when India shows up, it shows up strong. That collective strength becomes a multiplier, and anyone thinking India can be cornered. They'll find out quickly that India never walks into a fight alone. But let's not forget what really makes this force dangerous. It's the resolve. You cannot fight someone who has made peace with the idea of sacrifice. You cannot defeat someone who isn't fighting for conquest, but for survival, for pride, for family, for soil. Every Indian soldier knows what they're standing for, and that clarity makes them unshakable. Technology changes, strategies evolve, but heart, spirit, that's eternal, and India's military is built on a foundation of honor that can't be replicated. That's why it's terrifying. You're not just facing weapons. You're facing warriors shaped by thousands of years of legacy, sharpened by modern-day knowledge, and powered by a fierce love for their nation. That kind of force doesn't fade in darkness. It becomes the fire that lights the path forward. And whether it's in silence or in action, India's military makes sure that every enemy understands one truth. The battle may start somewhere else, but it ends where India decides. Because India does not chase war. It simply ensures that when it arrives, it ends it so decisively, so completely, that history remembers it forever.